Hey, what's up? Big Time Rush here.
And you're listening to Main Pod Girl.
Yeah, you are.
Hey, welcome to Main Pod Girl, a podcast made by Popheads for Popheads. Every episode, we'll be diving into all kinds of pop culture topics with some of our favorite artists and music commentators. I'm your host, AJ Marks, and today's special guests you probably grew up watching on TV. Their hit show on Nickelodeon ran for 4 seasons, and their TV movie premiered to 13 million viewers. They've collaborated with Snoop Dogg and Jordan Sparks, had One Direction open up for them, nabbed 2 top 10 albums, and achieved several platinum and gold certified singles. Almost exactly 10 years after the release of their last album, they're finally back with their 4th studio album, Another Life. It's Kendall and James from Big Time Rush.
Starting off well. I like this.
So let's start off with an icebreaker. What's everyone listening to right now?
I was just saying this the other day. I mean, I'm going to think of some new stuff, but I listen to like 70s and 80s and some 90s pretty much exclusively. So I kind of just go back all the time.
I've been on a country kick recently.
Really?
It's like Teddy Swims is not country, but I find he like populates within that world. So I get like soulful music with country. Mm-hmm. Then I get like Kane Brown, get a little bit of pop in there. I don't know. Yeah, my girl's from Oklahoma. We've been together for over 4 years now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
It creeps up on you.
It's creeping up on me. Anyways, got into country a while back and just now it's like my top playlist, but I don't think it's because I'm listening to it all the time. I'm pretty sure it's because she doesn't switch our Spotify accounts when she gets in the car.
Right.
She said she does. It's a bold-faced lie. So it was like 98% her listening. And then anyways, you get the point.
It's all a plan to get you to convert to country music. I cannot wait for the Big Time Rush country album.
Yes.
Honestly though, I'm sick with that.
It would be. And we actually wrote a couple songs, but the one in particular that sounds very, very country. Yeah. We mulled over the idea for a while, but it didn't end up making the cut. However, it still exists. Just shout us out next time you're talking to some huge country artist and we'll put it
all right, we'll do. But I also want to talk about your new music, your new album. The title, Another Life, is like sort of like a meta commentary on coming back with a whole new sound, right? I'm assuming new ownership, new creative process. Was it intended that way, or did it just kind of fall into place and felt right? Or,
in those situations, it's a little bit of both because decisions kind of happen that way. Otherwise, how do you ever decide? But it fell into that. And also we just figured, first of all, it was a song that we had that we were thinking of putting on the record, but it just fit because it's like, yeah, it's another life. We are new people, newer people than we were 10 years ago. Even though we're older, we're newer.
I love it,
And it just felt like the whole style of the music is another life. And this is another chapter in the book. So, I mean, you nailed it. That's exactly, without being too on the nose, that's basically what it was about.
Yeah, it wasn't titled Comeback, which is good. If you don't know the narrative, you don't pick up on it. But if you do, then you're like, I see what you did there.
Yes.
And I guess by that logic, Elevate can be like commentary on the rising status of the band, and 24/7 is commentary on being overworked, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to jokingly jump in there, but you got that one right.
It is so funny. Look, that's the way we've described it into ourselves was Big Time Rush is the hello, this is the band TV show thing. Elevate, we're elevating, we're stepping it up. 24/7 was basically like, yeah, I mean, we're overworked and also like we do this all the time. This is our thing.
Don't stop doing it.
Never stop stopping. And then, Another Life, it just seemed like just the perfect follow-up chapter.
And besides, I think that Another Life can also be interpreted however the fans want to, because it's not only us who have taken quite a hiatus and grown up and had different experiences our fans have. We're coming together at a completely different chapter in life. So the title wasn't just for us, it was also for fans. They're going to listen to this album and be like, man, listening back to the old stuff versus this stuff, it feels like another life, and hopefully they can reminisce on what they've gone through and, let the meeting be individual to everybody.
I love that. That was such a good way to put that.
Afterwards, I was a little proud of myself.
Wow.
I was like, that came out well.
If I may add on to that, maybe also the fact that you guys were playing fictional versions of yourself throughout the past 3 albums, and now you're playing yourself, you're being yourself on this record. So it's kind of like they get to know 4 new band members almost.
Well, I will say we've always been ourselves on the records, which to some fans, some of the younger fans also, might have been a little confusing because on the TV show we had the same first names.
Yeah, except the first album was a little bit less that.
Yeah, a little bit more. Yeah. I think it's gradually we've been able to inject our authenticity and ourselves over time. But yes, you're absolutely right. This album, there's no confusion. It's 100% just us as ourselves outside of character, because we also had very little outside influence. I mean, we wrote every song in this album with just a few choice producers and a few additional writers. That's it.
And that definitely shows. I feel like the consistency and the ability to get to this new sound has been transformative. But now that the music's in your control, coming later, and it has its own sound, how did you find the process of getting from A to B? And what were things that you tried out that maybe you were like, nope, this is definitely not it?
Zoom writing sessions.
It was actually more like A to Z, because we covered all the bases in between. Yeah, we started off with Zoom writing sessions, it's not a great way to get a band together.
Horrendous, yeah.
Better than nothing.
Better than nothing.
You can, like some of these songs we ended up writing remotely, and that's amazing. In fact, we have the technology, but it's tough. It's not the same as being in the room.
Yeah, you don't really.
I will say, being able to mute though, like being able to like sing something and like not have to show anyone, and yeah, you can't do that in the room.
Yeah. It's nice, but the thing is, though, the thing that I found difficult is when you, like, let's say I mute, okay, and then I'm coming up with some melody, and then I unmute to be like, what do you guys think about this? Someone is also talking at the same time.
Yeah, and nobody understands your process because they didn't know you were doing it. And that's where it gets to be, like, competitive in a way where it's like, if you're in the room and someone is going like, no, just, you kind of give them space and like, oh, so then when they interject, it's not a surprise.
And the other thing is we've all gotten very good at Zoom. What you're saying is Zoom techniques that were learned after a couple of years of Zooming.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? People weren't using mute. We didn't know what we were doing. So we started there. And then
started off wearing pants. Learned quickly, didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
We actually got together. I think our first in-person thing was at James's house, where we just got together, had like a little mini writing camp at James's place.
That was a place in Vegas. Yeah.
We wrote Call It Like I See It, in addition to a couple other ideas. Call It Like I See It just felt like the first song to kind of come back at.
Still one of my favorite songs.
Yeah. It felt like a party because we were partying.
Drink a lot of tequila. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah. Makes sense. Tequila is my fucking favorite. Over here, I live over here in the UK, so it's actually I drink a lot of gin just because you can actually drink it here, whereas in the States it's not very good. But whenever I go back to the US, definitely tequila.
Is Aviation Gin a quality gin?
I would say yes. It's definitely worth your time.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Teremana, a good tequila.
For the price point,
yeah, I feel like
it's probably pretty good for the price point, right?
Yeah.
But I'm willing to spend a little bit more to have less of a hangover. I'm not saying it gives you one, but just, it's like what, $35 a bottle?
If The Rock can drink it, if The Rock can drink it, we can drink it.
Yeah. Well, that's essentially how he's turned it into a multi-billion-dollar business. He wants you to believe that. But wouldn't be surprised if you got a couple bottles of Casa Dragonis hanging out behind the camera. You know? Just saying.
Well, and also I was going to say it really depends on the tonic. Like if you're going to drink gin, it depends on what you're mixing it with, because I think that's the real key that people end up missing. And the reason why I think it's better in the UK, because you guys still have a bunch of like London dry gin, but in the UK, we just have better tonic. So Fever Tree is highly recommend.
Yeah, that's a Whole Foods grab.
Oh, right.
Oh, that's I know what you're talking about.
Here, that's like a Tesco.
Do you think that people drink more in the UK or in the States?
Oh, they drink more, but they drink better here, I would say.
Yeah, see, that's what I want to do. I want to drink better.
Yeah, and more.
And more. Yeah.
Going back to the music for a second, and going back to the songs that came out before the album, especially Not Giving You Up, I gotta say, stuck in my head every single time when I think of Big Time Rush, I think of that song, and then I can't unthink of that song for hours.
It's an earworm for sure.
When it comes to finding your current sound, what would you say all the singles from your comeback before that didn't make the final track list, like what do they represent?
We're trying to do this thing. We have no idea what the fans' reaction is going to be like. We have no idea what the world's reaction is going to be like. So our only, prerequisite was let's have fun and make music that we enjoy. Mm-hmm. And having 4 people in the band and 4 writers and voices, already means you're going to have quite a bit of diversity when it comes to the sound. We all sing differently. We all listen to different music. So we kind of played with, let's go a little more this direction, a little more that direction, and kind of figured out what we all like collectively, which is often pretty different than what we like individually. So when we do find a song or a sound that everybody's like, yo, that's pretty cool, that's obviously the first barometer of, okay, this one might work. But yeah, I mean, look, that was an experimental process. We certainly, if those songs were released closer to the album, maybe they would have been included, but they're already out there. So it wasn't like we didn't choose them for the album. They were singles, they were released, and we wanted to create a new batch. Waves was essentially the first, I guess the second.
Can't Get Enough, yeah.
Can't Get Enough and Waves, like the singles were released off the album to start, and now we've got the rest of the batch. But I mean, yeah, we hadn't been together in a long time, and we hadn't written in a long time. So that was like the discovery period. And it also set the precedence of like, okay, this is a direction. Because before you have an anchor song or two to get going from, you literally have no idea what to do when you go into the studio. You know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So we had to do that to then be able to figure out the album.
I also can't even imagine what the process would have been like to put together an album had we started it right then, rather than just focusing on, let's try to find a good, kickoff single or two or three. I think if we had started, like, we decided to get the band back together and started acting on it late 2019, like acting on it internally. And then when we were going to make plans to kind of push it out there, obviously COVID happened, and trying to put together a record, doing Zoom sessions and all that, kind of like an album, rather than just looking for a couple songs to start with, would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, that seems very daunting.
This album came together. There's one song on the album that is actually from those Zoom sessions, and the rest of them all happened in the last 9 months or a year.
Nice.
With some very specific people that now we work with basically exclusively, just because they get the project. That's sort of the criteria of a producer, was we're not going to be working with anybody who's just trying to have a money grab or doesn't believe in the project. If someone's like, yeah, I mean, here's, like, not to name any names, but we got a couple songs that were pitches from bigger producers, and it was fine, but it seemed like they were sort of their B or C songs, and we weren't getting the A effort, you know?
Yeah.
And they were also really expensive, and we just were like, we can do this ourselves. Like,
well, that's the thing. If you get a song that was just an undeniable smash, which is it's also subjective, right? It's art. But let's say there was one song that's like, dude, every single person who hears it loves it. We'd have no problem checking our egos and be like, look, of course, we'd love to sing it. You pay the fee. They get it because they're great writers, and there's nothing wrong with that. So a lot of, the biggest songs, especially pop songs, have been created. But we had been spending the last couple of years writing together, had so much material that was pretty darn good. When we would A and B, here's the new song and here's one of the ones we just wrote, they were pretty close, and ours were often a little bit better, at least for us, because they were written for us. It's very different when you just write a song and then try and mold it to an artist. So it was pretty organic that our efforts and our songs and our producers and our writers and we did together just naturally became better songs for our project.
For talking about the reformation, I want to talk really briefly about the beginning of the hiatus. Was that decided beforehand, and then you were like, oh, let's just get through this last tour, these last few episodes, this whatever?
First of all, we were exhausted, so that's a fair.
We hadn't had a break in years.
That's a fair assessment.
We had fun doing it. We're grateful, but we needed a break.
We needed a break. But let's say we didn't need a break and we were still all good and whatever. The powers that be, Nick and Sony, I mean, essentially told us that they weren't going to do another season of the show.
We kind of run its course.
Yeah, they said we're done doing the show, and it wasn't like we're done doing the show. It's just like, hey,
it was like one of those things, like, we could try and do a 5th season, but quite honestly, you guys are getting a little old to play 16.
Right.
They were very cool with us. It was one of those things that, like, hey, do you guys want to do this? Like, they pretty much put it out that, like, we kind of feel like this is the natural conclusion of the show, at least. But do you want to do it? And I don't think any one of us raised our hand and said, yeah, 100%. It was more like, honestly, we kind of feel the same way. Like, let's do another tour and let's give it some time to breathe.
I don't know what they were expecting when we had this big sit down meeting. Typically, if we ended up having dinner at Quality Meats, it was either a good meeting or a bad meeting. That's where Sony likes to take, at least they like to take us in New York. And when we knew we had this Quality Meats dinner meeting coming up, we knew that something was coming. And when they told us essentially, like, yeah, I mean, we're good if you're good. we were like, well, let's get another bottle of wine then, because this is on you. You're paying. We all ordered tomahawks and drank a bottle of wine ourselves.
Oh, yeah. the ironic part of that, my friend, is I'm sure it was all charged back.
Yes, we ended up paying for that.
Right. Classic.
But hey, the silver lining of this, though,
Mhm.
had we not taken that break, had they not let the brand essentially go dormant, we wouldn't be back now in this position of ownership with this project,
Absolutely.
having creating, quite honestly, we believe better music, even better shows. Like our input is every step, every part of every way of creating this stuff. And so things happen for a reason. I think it was the right time to take a break. And then I think we nailed it, and got lucky, but found the right time to come back. And that's the kind of blessing in disguise, which we could have never predicted at that moment. Years later, we'd be here, but you got to trust in life a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, it's nice that it all paid off really well. I was in a band for 8 years, and there was a point in which I was like, all right, I got to take a break. And my instance was moving to England. So for you guys, I think having that, okay, well, the show doesn't exist anymore. I think that kind of makes it easier for you guys to all like have that natural moment to like reconsider and be like, do we want to like be this group right now anymore?
Right.
And it's good that you all were kind of able to take that break and then come back and stay cool with each other.
I'm not sure that we even felt like we wanted to do more music. It was like, we're not in the driver's seat for so many years. I mean, we were driving the thing ourselves as far as being the band and everything, but we were just like, man, you know what? Like, we're fine.
And we wanted to explore our own stuff. Like,
we're good.
Really did. We hadn't, that was such a big opportunity, big platform at such a young age. As artists, actors, musicians, we never really had the opportunity to go and say, hey, can I go and make it my own and lead movies? Can I go and put out my own record, write my own music? And so that was necessary. We needed to go and do that. And by doing that, by everybody going out and working on different projects, coming back together, we just have such a wealth of experience that we didn't have back then, and perspective. And that leads to humility and gratitude and all the things that I really believe. We were young and we appreciated things, but we didn't have enough scope of the world to like really appreciate it the way that we do now.
Had we put out more music without the home that we had, which was having the TV show, which was our promotional tool the entire time.
Yeah.
I don't think we were confident of our ability to promote an album without this big engine that we had, because we were offered a chance to, if you guys want to put something together, maybe an acoustic album or whatever at this end point here, you're more than welcome to. But we were like, well, if the TV show is not going anymore, I don't know how we're going to market it, And now the reason that it's different now is that the entire landscape has changed, where you can market something without a TV show. Social media has changed that. So I think it actually kind of worked in our favor. Now we kind of see, oh, you can market something yourself. Yeah. You don't have to have a television show to back it up.
It's so wild. Just looking at the numbers, like, if we had an episode get 4 million viewers, I forget the specific number, 5 million, 10 million, I don't know, episode. I mean, the barometer for success on a TV show back then was only a handful of million people watching. And you're like, oh my God, advertisers were happy. The show was making money. The network's happy. Now, we did a TikTok yesterday that's got like 5 million views already in 24 hours. Just think about the comparison. Oh my God, millions of dollars, months of work to get a single episode out, to get those types of eyeballs. Whereas here it's like, okay, we spend 10 minutes filming something, which is kind of crazy. And it's so backwards from how we grew up, but we certainly learned to embrace it and appreciate it. And it's given opportunity and access for so many more artists, which is the beautiful thing about it.
Yeah, you guys really fall in that sweet spot of you were in the monoculture when the monoculture was in, and then you got to be able to take that break and let the awkward transition period happen. And then you come back when the monoculture is dead and there's all this widespread attention on all these different little subcultures, and you're able to take advantage of that. And it's really cool to see you guys thrive in both environments. And I think the timing worked out really well for you guys with that.
If that were intentionally specific, I'd call us brilliant. But you know what? I won't.
Other people can say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll say that.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. And then also there were a lot of false starts trying to resume the project and like waiting for everyone to be ready. And then COVID hit. And then it was like, what was the moment where you were like, okay, this is like for real happening now?
We got together with the team that finally made the most sense. I think that's really what it's like. Hey, we've got these guys on our side. We all spoke. Everybody was at a, finally at a place in life where it's like everybody's like, yeah, I think this could work. And I think we have the time. And between us being aligned in timing in life and then aligned with like, hey, this is the right team that can work with us to do this. Those things lined up and it was like, oh yeah, we should really give this a shot now.
I remember feeling like it was super, super real when we first posted that like comeback video.
The worldwide thing?
Before that. Well, did we do worldwide? Yeah, we did worldwide first. That didn't feel real because we weren't actually announcing anything. But when we put together that narrated...
And the world. Whatever that one was.
The narrated video that was like, you know, the world needs Big Time Rush.
What about the arrogance of that?
So silly.
That was great.
That voiceover artist also is Optimus Prime.
Optimus Prime. Transformer. I mean,
oh, no shit.
Yeah.
We know people.
It just was like we posted that and I remember looking at it being like, oh my God, this is real. And now actually more than ever it feels like that, knowing this album is coming out, because it's like, you know, it's all been one big whirlwind since we got started. And really like, I think all of us as artists, the intention playing shows is like, that's our thing, is live concerts, but putting out an album was something that we were desperate to do.
The one thing I'm looking forward to, and by that I mean sarcastically looking forward to, is, you know, years of work. We're going to put out this body of work. It's going to come out tomorrow. And there's going to be some fans like, that was awesome. What's next? And you're like, well, I should listen to it a few times.
Yeah, listen to it.
Just give me a minute.
Check it out.
I don't know.
Just sleep on it.
A lot of music there. You just like take a week.
It's especially because it's not like you released 8 singles and then just like 4 extra tracks to make the album. You're like,
right.
This is pretty much all new.
I mean, yeah, it's basically, I mean, in the last 2 years, we will have put out like 16 songs.
And the album is 8 new songs?
Right. Well, and not to mention we did acoustic ones. Honestly, we probably put out like 20 songs by the time the album comes out. So realistically, that's kind of why we didn't want to add those songs in, because it's like, well, we've already done that. We don't want to just make it a 16-track album just by throwing in these other ones we put out.
Yeah. They made an album.
Yeah. And I think that that's unfortunately kind of becoming a forgotten art to some degree, because it's such a single driven world. A lot of artists don't even bother doing albums, or if they do, it's just like scrape together random 10, 15 songs.
Or like put together all the singles they put out with like 5 new songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Repackaging effort. So, you know, we grew up in a world of albums. We were one of the last artists to sell physical albums, which is pretty cool to say. As you were pointing out earlier, like we kind of were the end of that old school era, but not too old to be a part of this era now.
I feel very young.
I feel very young too. I feel quite youthful.
But to be honest, yes, the last time we put out an album, we sold CDs.
Right. Yeah. So. That is wild.
But we're going even more old school now because we're selling vinyls.
Our vinyls, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait. I love that. I want a vinyl.
Yeah, you guys got to get them. In fact, I actually just bought, so I bought 4 of them.
Did you buy me one?
I bought 4. So
buy me one?
Did you buy one?
Like the Daft Punk. I did not buy you one. I'm sorry.
Super rude.
Shit.
I got 3 extra. You could give you one, but
on the airplane yesterday, I saw Daft Punk's 10th anniversary vinyl.
Yeah.
It was like a 3 vinyl thing for random access memories. And I was like, okay, sign me up.
Sick.
Yeah.
What do they charge? Like
$49.
Really?
Yeah.
For 3 vinyls?
Spotify special thing.
All right.
That's exciting. Big Time Rush on a vinyl. It has a good kind of vinyl-y sound to it too. Like, did you guys look at other boy bands?
There's 1 or 2 songs specifically.
And we didn't look at anything current.
Nothing current. We certainly we tried to write, and I think we actually kind of pulled it off, our version of like the more classic boy band ballad, because I don't think even though
like Boys to Many kind of stuff.
Ish, yeah, or like This I Promise You.
Yes,
like God Must Have Spent a Little More Time on You, like that kind of thing.
So that's a song called Ask You Tonight. So when you listen to the album,
keep that in mind.
Also, you called your label Bought the Rights. I think that is such a flex. That is so cool.
Both that and our touring company was both old jokes.
Our touring company is
jokes.
Day Off Touring.
Yeah.
Oh, great. I love that. Yeah. That's cute.
They were old jokes. And I remember when we were discussing putting it together, we were like, we need to, because if you're creating a company, you got to.
Usually it's not publicly known, the names of companies, and we didn't quite put together that it was going to be on the bottom of every
actually,
song.
to be honest with you, we did it not knowing that it would be on the bottom of Spotify.
I love that it was. We were like,
whatever. It's honestly a big joke. It's funny.
For the people who pay attention, they'll see it and they'll be like, yeah. In the sweep of like nostalgia and reboots, let's say you have the chance to reboot the show, but just like your music, you're given the chance to do it on your own terms. Get to make it completely from scratch. and get that big budget to do it, how would you reformat the show to work in a modern context if it was like all up to you?
It's a tricky question.
Well, funny you asked that. It is up to us if we want to do something like that. And we are playing around with ideas.
Yeah, it's like we don't want to recreate necessarily the old show. I mean, I've gone back and forth. I mean, you could easily do a mature version of Big Time Rush. It doesn't have to drastically change.
But there will be no sound effects, I'm assuming.
No sound effects. Or if there was, it would be a joke. We'd make it a joke.
We've thrown out ideas, and I do think that there is a world in which we can create a mature version that is obviously Big Time Rush or Big Time Rush adjacent, but can also garner a new audience that wouldn't have had to watch the old show to watch this one.
Yeah.
Like our timing, our chemistry, to your point, like the friendship and the bonds we've made by being, together so much over the last 15 years. It's hard to cast that. And I truly think that it could be something pretty remarkable with a great team of writers if we figure it out. And I think there's a chance that after this tour going into next year, it might be something we figure out.
James isn't giving like you never know. Maybe we wink.
I was going to say, this is definitely an updated answer.
Yeah, we're not working on it currently, but it's something that we talk about and that if done correctly, we'd be excited to do.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear my pitch?
Sure.
I would love to.
It's
if we like it though, we're not giving you credit. We're going to use it. Is that cool?
That's fine. That's fine. Although you are going to have to like.
No, you said that's fine.
It's on record.
It's already on record.
It's true. But I can also edit that out. Anyway, so I have the power here.
Are you recording too?
So like the original show was, you guys were playing fictionalized versions of yourselves with the same names, being artists, and then you guys on the side were like writing your own music and making art. And so this like new show possibly could be you guys being actors that have played the characters on Big Time Rush, and so then it's canon that Big Time Rush all along was a show played by these fictionalized actors, which are played by yourselves.
It's not bad.
You would be playing yourself as yourself.
Listen, if we make a show and it ends up being that, I don't want you to think that we stole your idea. This is something that we've talked about.
That's totally fine. Just I'll take a little vinyl or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, look, we've explored a lot of different options. Again, casual wine.
Yeah, I mean,
dinner.
you sit there at dinner and you go, what if it was like this? Or what? But it's so, putting that together is such. I mean, you think putting an album together is tough. Putting together a television show is a monumental task.
I totally understand the hesitation in the response. I just want to let you know that I'm not expecting a TV show anytime soon, but I just thought it would be interesting to know what you're. Yeah.
But if it happened, we'd be like, hey, we're in, man. That's that's our jam.
Before we move on, James.
My sister was demanding that I ask you about Big Brother.
Yeah, that was a weird experience, but one of those things where when I was asked to do it, the company in which I was going to be around was pretty cool. And then I thought about, like, how many people get the opportunity to do something like this in life? Very few. And for me to turn it down for whatever reason, I was like, you know what? I have the time to do this. I get to not be on my phone for a month, which honestly was the best part about it. Not having my computer or phone or social media, like, was the best part about it. Nothing at all. No, you have
nothing.
No, your team can do whatever they want outside with clips and stuff. But I don't regret it for a second, even though I wouldn't necessarily do it again.
Yeah.
Cool to say that I did something like that. What a strange and cool experience to be a part of. Now, honestly, I think it would have been a lot more fun for me if I were to do a regular Big Brother. If I didn't do what I do and I could go in to a regular Big Brother, that would have been way more interesting and I think way more fun, because then my competitive nature, athleticism, all the things that can actually be major assets in regular Big Brother would have been an asset for me. Whereas being the youngest one by about 400 years going into mine, they were detriments. I had to be very calm, very passive, very docile just to stay in to play the game, which is not how I am.
No, it's not.
It wasn't particularly fun in terms of strategy. It was just fun to say I was a part of the experience. But yeah.
James is gentle, but I wouldn't describe him as docile.
No. Or gentle. I mean, I can.
You're a gentle soul.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I like that.
But he's not gentle.
Yeah. Look, if it wasn't the celebrity geriatric version, it would have been more fun, but it was cool.
Right. Yeah, I could see you guys doing something like The Circle together.
I think it'd be fun to do something with the band.
Yeah.
I don't know what it would be, but it'd be interesting.
Have you guys acted all together since the show at all? Like, has there been a project you guys all have done?
You did a cameo. I asked Kendall to do a cameo in a movie I did called We Need to Talk, but it was Kendall being like Kendall talking to my character. But I thought that was kind of fun. It was a little
Meta
Easter egg, a little Easter egg in there.
Cute.
Truthfully, I've been presented a couple of projects, a couple of movies that were horror films with the four of us playing a band in a horror film, which on the surface sounds fun. I'm not
but
against.
Also terrible.
The thing is, I just think there's a lot of trash horror out there.
Yeah.
Not to be negative, it's tough to make a horror film extremely good. I mean, there's exceptions. Cabin in the Woods was brilliant. Like there's great ones, but
28 Days Later.
Yeah, but until there's a script like that would make sense, wouldn't want to do it. But I love the idea of us doing something else together. In fact, that could be a route we take even before a TV show, is to maybe come up with a film, because that's a lot easier to execute in many ways.
Then you can all be like acting together, but just have it be completely separate from the band, and then it's not even.
We're gonna make this thing as meta as possible. It's going to be Inception on so many levels. Actors playing a fictional band on a television show about a fictional band in
but it's
real
actually
life,
just a movie.
But it's actually just a movie, and a band that is really a band that came from a fictional television show.
But one of the characters is acting all along.
Yeah.
The CIA operative. Yeah.
And then every 30 minutes it goes out and you realize the whole thing has been a TV show, and then a new set of characters have to play those people.
See, what we're doing is we're secretly influencing society with our mind control techniques.
Yeah.
And the band is basically in control of the whole planet.
I want to wrap up on a little game called Who You Gonna Call? I'm going to put each of you in a hypothetical scenario, and you're going to have to end up calling 1 out of 3 people from your past to help you out.
Okay.
The first question is for James. So you get to cast someone as your love interest in a music video, and you have to choose between 3 of your former Nickelodeon co-stars. Is it A, Liz Gillies, B, Victoria Justice, or C, Miranda Cosgrove?
I'm going to go C, Miranda.
Mm-hmm.
I think Miranda is awesome, but I just saw her recently and it was great to catch up. That's what I'm going to say.
Let's just say he did call.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Her team called.
Her team called.
Yes.
My team.
Right. I'll have your people call my people.
Yeah.
Yeah. She actually has James's number blocked. So she had to reach.
She wouldn't even say hi to me.
No, she had to reach out via her team.
Arranged. None of that's true. She's great. She's she's such a normal, humble person. It was nice.
She seems so normal in like the best way possible.
Yeah. Like just good at her job, good at being a person. She's good at being a human. She's a good human.
Yeah.
Nice. So Kendall, your question is, let's say for some reason you get 3 messages from some old friends of yours that want to get back into the boy band scene by joining as the 5th member of Big Time Rush. A, Niall Horan, B, Liam Payne, or C, Louis Tomlinson?
I'd say Niall.
Niall?
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a long time, but when they were opening for us back in the day, which is something that still sounds crazy to say, we became close at that time. I haven't seen him in like 5 years. So you're right, old friend, 10 years, maybe that long. It's been a long time, maybe 2015 or something like that. Anyway, he's a great guy. They're all great guys, but Niall
was actually a fan of the band before.
Oh,
I think that's why he like made an effort to spend more time with us. So we got to hang out with him more.
Yeah.
I like your answer. I support that.
Yeah, no, Niall's cool.
I'm going to tell him, I'm going to be like, yo, you're joining Big Time Rush. That's what's happening.
The last time we had like an exchange through an interview, it was in Australia. And someone asked me when we were doing Slime Fest or whatever, and they said, oh, have you talked to him, whatever? And I said, he's in Australia right now. And I told him, let's get together, for golf, scheduling a golf game. And he never called. And then he did an interview on the same thing like a week later. And they told him that. And he goes, that dude never called me. He's like,
oh shit.
He said we had a golf game scheduled and then he bailed on me. And I was like,
time at noon.
Yeah. And I was like, well, we got lost in communication somewhere. But anyway, I haven't talked to him since.
Oh, wow. Well, you know what? Say goodbye to your friendship with Niall, because I'm going to ruin it.
If I saw him, I'm sure it would just be like,
dude, they're all cool. I ran into Harry at a random party a few years back, and it was just one of those things like, good to see you, give him a hug. Like, We work together. They're incredibly talented. They're hardworking. Like, we got nothing but love for those guys.
Well, this last question was Carlos. If he needs a sitter and both of you, let's say that you're both busy and you can't do it on short notice, and 3 people have offered to help out. They're former Big Time Rush guest stars. Who are you going to call for Carlos's sitter? Is it Nicole Scherzinger, Lisa Rinna, or Snoop Dogg?
Snoop Dogg.
You gonna fuck with Carlos like that?
Lisa would probably show up and do a good job.
Yeah, she is a mother, so that makes sense.
I don't know if Nicole would. I don't know how she is with kids.
Does she have a kid? I don't know. I guess I saw that.
Either
way,
Snoop would be fun. Uncle Snoop. Just expect him to show up a little late, but then
he's gonna be high as hell.
Yeah, and your kids will probably be high as hell too, despite contact. But you know what? Might put him to sleep. Might be good for him. Might be, a little hyperactive and good to control that.
Yeah, it's medicinal.
Plus, Snoop rolls with an entourage, so you got plenty of people. We got a whole family there.
He's got a 7-foot security guard do a good job at rocking the kids to sleep.
We got Tiny
and Big Keys.
Big Keys. Big Keys is a lot smaller than Tiny, though.
Tiny is bigger than Big Keys. That is sort of like the Greenland, Iceland thing.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for joining me. And thank you so much to Noah for the theme music. Make sure to rate and review us on whatever podcast platform you're listening to on right now. Not you guys, just whoever's listening to this.
We rolled up as well. We might listen back.
Cheers. Thank you. The 4th Big Time Rush album, Another Life, is out now.